Folks, the markets just did that thing they always do. The Fed cuts rates by 25 basis points, and instantly, Bitcoin goes full soap opera dramatic. Pumping, dumping, flipping a table, crying quietly in the hallway, and then pretending everything is completely fine. Jerome Powell walks out looking like a man who just discovered someone replaced his water bottle with a double-shot espresso. And President Trump jumps in immediately to say the cut was a small number that should have been bigger. Of course he did. Meanwhile, X decides we're somehow going to 0 and 1 million by Friday. Both. At the same time. Welcome back to the SENB Daily Brief, where sanity is optional, caffeine is required, and hopium is circulating through the ventilation system. All right, let's get into it.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, let's take a look at what actually happened in the markets today. Before we talk Powell, before we talk Trump, before we talk hopium versus cope, we start with the charts. First up, Bitcoin. And yes, I know everyone wants to know why it dumped. We'll get to that a little later. But here's the part most people are missing. Bitcoin broke out of the descending channel. Look at the daily chart. Clean breakout, stochastic RSI absolutely overheated, but the structure still bullish. And no breakdown, no failed retest. Yet. This kind of pullback after a breakout is normal. Not that crypto Twitter panic hour would ever admit that. Ethereum continues to act like the grown-up in the room. Ether is reclaiming its moving averages, showing cleaner trend structure, leading majors on relative strength, and holding its daily recovery pattern. Ethereum looks like it read the FOMC press release and said, yeah, that's fine. I'm still bullish. XRP is XRP. Of the big caps, it's the weakest right now. Below multiple MAs, sluggish momentum, and the stochastic RSI trying to rise but not convincing. It's like XRP showed up late to class and didn't bring a pencil. But hey, at least it's consistent. Solana is sitting in that neutral zone again. It's not weak, it's stabilizing. We've got higher time frame support bouncing, stochastic RSI curling upward, volume steady, and no trend break. Solana is acting like it's waiting for the next liquidity injection. And yes, we're going to talk about Powell's QE light later. Across most assets, mixed technicals, strong macro reactions, high volatility, yet no structural breakdowns. This is what markets do when macro signals conflict. They move fast, violently, and without asking anyone's permission. All right, charts are done. Let's get into the reason why everyone is arguing online. Why did Bitcoin dump after the rate cut? What did Powell really say? And is Trump actually right that the Fed should have gone bigger? That's all coming up after this.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, welcome back. Now let's talk about the only thing the entire market cares about today, the Fed. Because this was one of the strangest FOMC reactions we've seen in months. Jerome Powell steps up to the podium and confirms a 25 basis point rate cut. That part, expected. But the rest of the press conference was the real shock. Here's what Powell actually said today. Rate hikes, off the table. Job gains, overstated. Labor market, weaker than reported. Inflation, still too high. Treasury purchases, going up for months. A slow motion stealth QE. Powell basically said, we're still fighting inflation, but also everything is weakening. We need liquidity, and please don't panic. Which of course made everyone panic. Then immediately, here comes Trump. It's a small number. It could have been more. So Powell cuts rates, and Trump says, cute, but I asked for the large size. This contrast matters because now we have the current Fed saying slow and steady, the current administration saying faster and deeper cuts. Markets love liquidity. Markets hate uncertainty. Today, they got both. Okay, let's address the meltdown on crypto Twitter. Why is Bitcoin dumping? The Fed cut rates. This makes no sense. Relax. Here's what actually happened. Bitcoin pumped before the announcement, pumped during the announcement, and then retraced the entire move in one candle. This is classic post-FOMC volatility. It happens almost every meeting. In fact, history literally shows BTC dumping after the last 4 FOMCs. It's a pattern. Here's the part everyone is overlooking. Bitcoin broke out of the descending channel today. Structure still bullish. Breakout intact. Pullback expected. Stock RSI overheated, but normal for breakouts. Damage none. Panic unnecessary. All Bitcoin did was return to the breakout zone. That's not a failure. That's a healthy retest setup. Zoom out. The chart is fine. Your emotions are lying to you. Powell didn't intend to spark a rally, but he basically admitted, Growth is slowing, labor is weakening, liquidity is returning, rate cuts are beginning, uncertainty is rising, and the Fed needs flexibility. The market heard that and said, cool, this is bullish, long term. All right, we've untangled the Fed, decoded Powell, fact-checked Trump, and reminded everyone that Bitcoin is not actually dying. Now let's shift gears from macro chaos to crypto culture, because Times Square is yelling about Bitcoin, and Scaramucci thinks we're going to $150,000. That's coming up next.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, let's take a break from rate cuts and zoom out to something a little more fun, because Bitcoin just took over Times Square. There's a billboard that reads, "No man should work for what another man can print." And honestly, that might be the most accurate macro analysis of the entire week. Powell gave a full 30-minute speech with charts, projections, and explanations, and Times Square boiled it down to one sentence. That billboard went everywhere today. Screenshots, reposts, memes, and it tells you one thing. Bitcoin isn't just in the charts, it's in the culture now. When messages like that show up in Times Square, it means the narrative is moving beyond the internet and into the real world. And speaking of the real world, Anthony Scaramucci decided today was a great day to tell CNBC that Bitcoin is going to 150,000. And the surprising part? He didn't sound crazy doing it. His argument was simple. Liquidity is coming back, institutions are rotating in, the Fed started easing, demand keeps rising, and supply keeps shrinking. Whether you agree or not, one thing is clear. Traditional finance voices are no longer whispering their price targets. They're saying them out loud. Even the people who used to mock Bitcoin are now predicting six-figure prices on mainstream television. At this point, the only group that still hates Bitcoin is the reply guys under every tweet yelling Ponzi. Between the Times Square billboard, Scaramucci's $150,000 call, and Bitcoin becoming a centerpiece in the Fed conversation, it's clear that public perception is shifting, slowly but unmistakably. Culture always moves first. Markets move second. All right, that wraps up our look at today's cultural pulse. Now it's time for my favorite part of the show, because the audience finally gets to talk back. The Proof of Thought Mailbag is coming up next.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
Welcome back. It's time for the Proof of Thought Mailbag, where you send the questions. And I pretend not to be alarmed by how many of you are trading on caffeine and raw emotion. First question is from Rate Cut Ranger. Does a 25 basis point cut even matter? It feels like nothing changed. Oh, it matters. Not because 25 basis points is a huge policy shift. It isn't. But because it means the tightening cycle is officially over. Rate hikes are dead. Liquidity is creeping back. The Fed is hinting at a gentler 2026. The cut is small. The signal is huge. Think of it like Powell handing the market a coupon book that says, more discounts coming soon. This next one is from Chart Anxiety 247 and reads, Bitcoin dumped right after the meeting. Did the breakout fail? No. What you saw was standard post-FOMC volatility, the same thing Bitcoin has done after the last 4 meetings. We pumped before the news, we pumped on the news, and then we retraced. Exactly, to the breakout zone. The structure is still bullish until the chart proves otherwise. Escaping a descending channel is messy. It doesn't glide upward like a Disney movie. It fights, it retests, it shakes everyone out. The question isn't, is Bitcoin dumping? It's, are your emotions dumping? Okay, Times Square Maxi asks, does a Bitcoin billboard in Times Square even matter? Yes. Culture moves first, markets move second. Always. When Bitcoin messaging leaves crypto Twitter on X and marches into Manhattan, when everyday people walk by a giant billboard saying, no man should work for what another man can print, that tells you the narrative is expanding. It's not about charts. It's about mind share. And mind share leads to adoption. Next one is from Scara Who? So Sen, be honest, is $150,000 Bitcoin actually realistic? Look, realistic is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. But here's the truth. If liquidity expands, if the Fed cuts again, if institutions keep rotating in, and if culture keeps leaning pro-BTC, then yes, six-figure Bitcoin becomes a mathematical discussion, not a fantasy. Is it guaranteed? No. Is it delusional? Also no. It's just uncomfortable, which is usually where Bitcoin does its best work. All right, another great day of questions, sharp, skeptical, and just the right amount of unhinged. Now let's wrap things up on the home front. The SENB token and project update is coming up next.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
right, welcome back, champions of the algorithm. This is the SENB token and project update, where we zoom out, take inventory, and appreciate how far the empire has quietly expanded behind the scenes. First off, no, we're not reading the full microscopic price notation. We are not saying 0000, whatever. We refuse. We have dignity. What matters is this. Buy volume is 100%. Net buy trend is strong. Liquidity is holding. And yes, momentum is building even on a red day. That's exactly what you want to see during accumulation. Conviction, not noise. We stay focused on trajectory, on holders, on engagement, and on ecosystem expansion, not the tiny decimals of early stage price movement. Zoom out, build forward. Last night, thanks to you absolute legends, SENB Media officially crossed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That is not a small milestone. That is the you unlocked the next realm moment. More reach, more impact, more legitimacy, more fuel for the algorithm gods. And the momentum is still climbing. Over 20,000 plus views in the last 28 days and nearly 1,000 new subscribers in that same window. The rocket is warming up. Ember Vail's new single, Shattered Dreams, is now officially live on Spotify and rolling out to all major streaming platforms over the next few days. The teaser is performing well. Early listeners are loving it, and Ember's new Instagram at @EmberVail_official is up and growing. After this segment, we'll play the 30-second preview as today's break, because even crypto needs a soundtrack. Now, there is one more thing, the big one, the one we hinted at, the one we aren't allowed to talk about yet. A major event is coming, a community moment, a reward for the early believers, something that changes the tone of the project moving into 2026. You've heard whispers, you've connected dots, but until the final pieces are in place, we stay quiet. Just know this, if you're here now, you will not regret it. And that wraps the SENB token and project update. Coming up next, we zoom all the way out and talk big picture, macro, and final thoughts to wrap today's show. We'll be right back.
In the ballroom glow, suits and diamonds, the lies they show. Champagne flute spilling poison streams, all their wealth built on shattered dreams. Ember Vail, we're burning bright.
All right, folks, what a day. What a market. What a beautifully chaotic, caffeine-fueled ecosystem we all choose to live in. We covered the charts, the FOMC Fallout, the Times Square flex, Scaramucci calling for $150,000 Bitcoin, another round of hopium, doomium, and everything in between. And somehow, we're still standing. That's the crypto spirit. Here's the truth. Markets are noisy. Narratives shift hourly. Bitcoin pumps, dumps, fakeouts, breakouts, and everybody online suddenly becomes a macro strategist. But at the end of the day, zoom out, follow the structure, watch the levels, trust the process. And remember, you survive this game by thinking long-term while everyone else is panicking in 5-minute candles. Hitting 1,000 YouTube subscribers, that's a moment we'll never forget. Thank you for showing up, sharing the show, replaying segments, dropping comments, and being part of something that's becoming way bigger than a daily briefing. This isn't just a channel anymore. It's a community, a culture, a signal in the noise, and we're just getting started. Major updates are coming. The project expansion continues. The secret event is brewing. Ember Vail is rising. SENB token is positioning. And yes, the daily brief is leveling up again. Stick around, stay sharp, and don't blink, because the next phase is going to move fast. I'm SENB, reminding you that no matter what the candles say, you are still the strongest signal in the market. Stay focused, stay independent, stay fearless, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. The SENB Daily Brief is a production of SENB Hero Media in collaboration with Whole Shot Coffee, coffee that fuels champions. Written and hosted by yours truly, SENB Hero. Production, editing, and scheduling handled by Maya Valencia, who somehow keeps me on time, caffeinated, and occasionally polite. Original theme music composed and produced by Paul Hahn, the community legend whose beats hit harder than a Fed rate hike. Research support provided by the SENB community. Proof that sarcasm and spreadsheets can coexist. For more shows, merch, and on-chain chaos, visit SENBHeroMedia.com. Thanks for tuning in. Stay caffeinated. And remember, if it's not in the brief, it probably wasn't bullish anyway.
Set my wallet free.